Even though Philadelphia has drafted legends like Charles Barkley, they weren't always lucky on draft day. They have quite a long list of draft mistakes. Let's take a look at some of the worst ones to date. To start things off, we've got the 3rd overall pick in the 1988 draft, Charles Smith.
Time on the shot clock, down to 10. Ewing for Smith.
Philly had a chance to draft a guy like Mitch Redmond with their pick, but instead they chose the forward, and the franchise didn't even use them as they ended up trading him for Hersey Hawkins straight away. Now, I know Hawkins was a pretty solid player for Philadelphia for a few years, but Richmond was just better. As for Charles, sure, he was also pretty good in his first few seasons, but looking at all 3 of their careers, it's clear as day that Mitch was the best out of the bunch. After all, he was a 6-time All-Star and averaged 20 a game for the first 10 seasons of his career.
Out to Richmond. Richmond in traffic, has to play. He does. Oh my.
The Rock can't find a seam, and the Kings open it up just enough for him to be able to spin it off the glass.
Including a 22-point season his rookie year. So it's safe to say that Richmond would have been the best pick for Philly at that time. Though this decision wasn't as bad as when they drafted the 6'4" guard from Michigan State in 1976. I'm talking about Terry Furlow.
One is for the money, 2 is for my niggas who jack. Niggas ain't making that shit no more, they got big Benz and Cadillac. My guy is in my lap, so what you wanna be starting now?
The 76ers had a chance to get their hands on one of the most underrated scorers in Alex English, but instead, with their 12th pick, they chose a dude who did absolutely nothing for them. Furlow only played 32 games for the franchise in his rookie year, putting up horrible averages of 2.6 points and 1.2 rebounds per game. Then they'd trade Terry before his career fizzled out completely 3 seasons later. As for English, he was a late bloomer, but the second he made his way to Denver, he showed everyone that he was ready for primetime.
There was a switch and he was wide open. It is 72-70 Arizona. 10-20 to play in the 3rd. Pistons by 3, make it 2 as English gets...
Alex cemented himself as one of the most prolific scorers back in the 1980s, winning a scoring title in 1984 after putting up 28 a game. What's more, he made 8 All-Star games in a row from 1982 to 1989. And to top it all off, out of all the players in the 1976 NBA draft, English ranks 3rd in win shares. But this wasn't nearly as bad as their pick in 1962, none other than Lynn Chappell.
Now back to basketball here at the arena. Lou Alcindor's debut, and it's been a good one so far. He has scored 14 big ones. That's Lynn Chappell.
The athlete had a pretty unforgettable career, to say the least. He played his rookie season with the franchise along with 1 game the following season, but then he was shipped off to New York. While he had a solid run with the Knicks and earned himself an All-Star selection in 1964, it was nothing but disappointment after that. What really sucks for Philadelphia was the fact they could have drafted John Havlicek with their 5th pick, as it wasn't until the 9th pick that he was selected. Havlicek ended up being an all-time great player, helping Boston win 8 championships while making the All-Star game 13 times.
John Havlicek entered the NBA as the 7th overall pick to the Boston Celtics in 1962.
Here come the world champions.
Plus, he was named to 11 All-NBA teams, 8 All-Defensive teams, and he even took home the MVP award in 1974. That said, it's safe to say the 76ers messed up big time with their selection that year. Though at the same time, I can't forget about their blunder from 1984 when they selected the 6'3" guard out of Cal State Fullerton, aka Leon Wood.
Leon Wood checks in for the Bullets at guard. Picked off by Leon Wood. With Paxson back on defense, Wood takes it right to him. The basket counts, goaltending called.
Say what you will, but he was a massive disappointment for Philadelphia. He only put up 4.1 points and 1.8 assists in 67 games for the franchise. Soon he became a journeyman before trying his luck in other pro leagues. Unfortunately for him, nothing really worked out and he ended up becoming an NBA official in 1996. But who did the 76ers pass up on when they selected Leon with their 10th pick? It was none other than John Stockton.
Streak off of here and go down the side. They do. Stock's got it. He's got running room. Stockton, grab, hang it up. It's good. It's good.
Sure, Philadelphia made the right choice by drafting Charles Barkley with the 5th pick that year, but imagine if everyone got to see Sir Charles and John Stockton lighting teams up with their offense. In fact, maybe the team could have actually won some championships during that era, and people would stop trolling Barkley about the fact that he has 0 rings. John was one of the best playmakers of his time, and if he played with a dude like Charles, it would have spelled disaster for the rest of the league. Fast forward to 2010, and Philly made yet another decision they'll forever regret. Why? Because they missed out on some great players when they chose the prospect out of Ohio State University. You guessed it, it's Evan Turner. Back then, the athlete was projected to be an NBA superstar because of how insane he was in college.
Trying to become a factory. Turner again into the paint. 15 feet away with the switch.
Unluckily for him in Philly, that didn't happen at all. Everyone expected him to come out guns blazing, but instead he just put up 8.2 points and 4.8 rebounds in his first 2 seasons in the league. Soon he was traded to various teams where his production just kept declining, and in 2020 the athlete called it quits from the game. By drafting Evan with the 2nd pick, not only did Philadelphia lose out on DeMarcus Cousins, but they also missed out on landing Paul George. Cousins had evolved into an elite center when he was in his prime, and PG-13 has been a premier player for years, so this decision must be a tough pill to swallow for the franchise and their fans, but in 2015 they fumbled big time once again. The 76ers skipped over one of the best 2 guards in the league today to draft the big man out of Duke, that is Jahlil Okafor. If you look at the athlete's stats in his rookie year, they're actually pretty darn good, as he posted averages of 17.5 points and 7 boards per game. Then things changed for the worse due to injuries and attitude problems. Soon his contributions became minimal and he was traded, plus he hasn't even played an NBA game since the 2021 season. The franchise had the 3rd pick that year, meaning that they had the chance to draft a bunch of talented players, including Devin Booker. The Suns stole D-Book with the 13th draft pick, and now he's recognized as one of the best scorers in the league. So missing out on having Booker and Embiid playing on the same team must be something every 76ers fan would like to forget about. But unfortunately for the franchise, they made an even worse blunder with their 1st pick in 2017. Yes, I'm referring to Markelle Fultz. Don't get me wrong, the dude had amazing stats in college, and even though some called him a shaky pick, the 76ers were sold on him. But he soon proved to be a bust, due in large part to the injuries he suffered early in his career. Later, he'd make his way to Orlando, where he's been nothing more than a solid role player at best. By drafting Markelle, the franchise missed out on dudes like Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Bam Adebayo, who've all proven to be studs. Tatum and Mitchell have especially propelled themselves into superstar status as of late. If either of them were on the 76ers, then they would be super OP at this point. Though while this pick turned out to be a massive L, it's nothing compared to Philly's worst ever draft pick back in 1998. I'm talking about Larry Hughes. Philly thought he was the guy to pair with Allen Iverson, but they couldn't have been more wrong about that. The franchise drafted Larry with the 8th pick, but unluckily for them, he was a mediocre role player at best. But what about the 2 dudes who were drafted right after him? Well, Dirk Nowitzki was selected at 9, while Paul Pierce was picked at 10. Both athletes went on to have Hall of Fame careers and even won championships, so one can only imagine how painful it must be to think back on this pick. Which draft mistake by Philadelphia do you think was the worst? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out.